Hello, loves, and welcome to Inner Love Messages. My name is Sarah, and if you're new here, I am absolutely thrilled you found your way to us. To those of you who are already a part of this beautiful community, welcome back. Your support and presence means so much. As many of you know, we are currently in the powerful energy of a full moon in Scorpio. This phase invites deep reflection, shedding old patterns and embracing the opportunities that come with letting go of what no longer serves us. It's a time of intense emotional release and transformation where we are asked to confront those aspects of ourselves or our lives that have been holding us back. And this energy isn't just personal, it's also impacting our relationships. When I tune into this energy and think about your connection, I feel that the full moon's influence is playing a significant role in what's unfolding between you and your person. There's a certain heaviness in the air, a sense that something needs to be released in order for both of you to move forward in a way that truly aligns with your desires. It's as if the universe is gently pushing you both to look inward and ask yourselves, what might be standing in the way of this relationship? What are the barriers, emotional, mental, or even spiritual, that are preventing you from fully stepping into the space of love and connection that you deeply crave? It's a crucial moment where the past and present energies are meeting, and it's time to reflect on what no longer fits. The full moon energy also brings to light hidden feelings, unresolved issues, and sometimes uncomfortable truths. It pushes us to recognize what needs to be released in order to make space for growth and harmony. With that in mind, let's dive deeper into the current state of your connection. I'll be pulling a few cards to explore how your person feels about you right now, and how this intense full moon energy is influencing the relationship. As I shuffle the cards, the first one to come up is, I can't do this anymore. Immediately, I sense a powerful, yet somewhat unclear energy around this message. Your person seems to be at a crossroads in the relationship. There's a palpable frustration in their heart, one that feels almost suffocating. It's not necessarily that they don't care about you, but it's as though they've reached a point where something is holding them back from moving forward. Perhaps they've been feeling emotionally blocked, or there's been a pattern in the relationship that's making it hard for them to open up fully. This barrier could be anything from unresolved past issues to fear of vulnerability, and it's starting to weigh heavily on them. There's a deep sense of emotional exhaustion here, as though they've tried to push past the obstacle but can't seem to break through. This isn't something they want to walk away from, but they feel as though they can't keep going in the same way. The full moon's energy is amplifying this feeling, encouraging them to face the truth of what's been holding them back. In many ways, this card is a call for both of you to acknowledge the emotional roadblocks that exist in the relationship. What is it that's keeping them from fully investing? What's keeping you from embracing the love you both deserve? Let's pull a few more cards to get more clarity on what's truly going on beneath the surface. I feel that there's more to this situation than what meets the eye, and it's important for both of you to take a step back and reflect on what needs to change. Relationships are constantly evolving, and sometimes we have to shed old layers to make room for something more fulfilling. It's not always easy, but it is necessary for growth. The energy of this full moon is giving both of you a chance to reset. It's offering an opportunity to release any emotional baggage or lingering fears that may be preventing you from stepping into the loving connection you both deserve. You may find that once this emotional release occurs, the relationship has the potential to bloom in ways you never expected. The process of letting go, though difficult, is often the key to stepping into a deeper, more aligned space of love and mutual understanding. So, my dear, as we navigate through this transformative energy, take a moment to check in with yourself and your partner. Reflect on what's been weighing you both down. Are there any unresolved emotions, past wounds, or fears that need to be addressed? This full moon is your invitation to let go, to release the old cycles that have been keeping you stuck, and to step into the love and connection that your soul is craving. As we continue to explore the cards and uncover more about your relationship, remember that the energy of the full moon is here to guide you. Trust that the universe is bringing these things to the surface not to cause pain, but to help you both heal and grow. Let's dive in further and see what else the cards reveal. The message I'm picking up on here is, I feel like you're slipping away, Divine Feminine. It resonates deeply, as though you've been reflecting on your life more than usual lately, looking back, especially over the past few years. It's possible that you've become more introspective, contemplating your growth and changes, perhaps even questioning your current place in love and life. You might feel like you've unconsciously built some kind of emotional wall around your heart, especially when it comes to love. This protective barrier could be a natural response to past hurts, disappointments, or betrayal, something you've carried with you in hopes of shielding yourself from further pain. But deep down, I sense a part of you is weary of carrying this weight. It's as though you're tired of being cautious, but it feels like there's no other choice but to protect your heart. Your person, however, seems to be picking up on this energetic shift. They've noticed a change in you, and it's one that's become more evident as time has passed. They're feeling the distance that has started to grow between you two. In the beginning, the connection was vibrant, full of passion, excitement, and intimacy. The energy between you was magnetic, and it felt effortless. But now, that spark doesn't seem to be burning as brightly. There's a noticeable difference between the warmth that existed at the start of your journey together and the coolness that now lingers. Your person feels the shift in energy deeply. They can tell that things aren't quite the same, and it's causing them to reflect on what might have changed. What's even more interesting is that I sense there's been a lingering, unspoken tension between you both. Something has been left unresolved for a while now, a conversation that hasn't taken place, a feeling that hasn't been addressed. Perhaps it's something you've tried to ignore or push to the back of your mind because confronting it feels too painful. But now, this issue is rising to the surface, demanding your attention. It's something you can no longer avoid, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. This energy is amplifying, and it's pushing both you and your person to reflect on your current emotional landscape and where things are heading. I sense that your person is struggling with a feeling of loss, as though they're watching you slip away emotionally, and they're not entirely sure why. They can feel that you're not as engaged, as present, or as invested in the relationship as you once were, and this shift is confusing to them. They feel a sense of longing for the closeness and intimacy that once existed, and they are left with a multitude of questions. What happened? What changed? What went wrong? Your person is craving understanding and seeking answers, not only because they miss you, but because they still want to find a way to reconnect. They feel a deep desire to understand the root cause of this shift in your bond, hoping that if they can figure it out, they can help heal the distance between you two. At the same time, Divine Feminine, I sense that you've been on a journey of self-reflection and healing. You're looking back at the person you were before, all the heartaches and disappointments, not just in this relationship, but in love as a whole. You've been through so much in the past. And while some wounds may have healed over time, there are others that still sting. These past experiences have left a mark on you, shaping the way you perceive yourself and how you show up in relationships. The pain and disappointments you've encountered have impacted how you interact with love, and whether you realize it or not, some of these old wounds are influencing the present moment. Your person can feel this shift in your energy, even if you haven't directly expressed it. They can sense that there's something different about the way you approach the relationship now, and they can feel that some of this change stems from your past experiences, not just from what's happening between you two. They want to understand how these past hurts are affecting your current dynamic. They want to know how they can help you heal, how they can support you in moving forward, and whether it's possible for both of you to let go of what's holding you back and return to the closeness and connection you once had. It seems as though there is an opportunity for healing, for growth, and for deeper understanding, but it requires both of you to be open, to communicate honestly, without fear of vulnerability, and to face the unspoken tensions that have lingered between you. It's not an easy process, but it's one that can lead to transformation and a renewed sense of trust and intimacy if you're both willing to navigate the challenges together. The potential for reconnection is there, but it requires effort, patience, and a willingness to confront the difficult emotions and experiences that are shaping the present. This journey can bring you closer, but it asks for a deep and honest look at both your pasts and how they've influenced your present connection. It feels as though the dynamic between you has shifted in a way that's difficult to ignore. What was once easy and natural now seems to carry a heaviness, leaving both of you questioning whether it's possible to keep pretending that everything is okay when there's this underlying sense of blockage between you. The love and respect that have always existed are still present, but the delays, misunderstandings, and perhaps unmet expectations have led to a sense of confusion and emotional distance. Despite all of this, there's no denying that deep down, both of you are yearning for each other. You miss the connection, the closeness, and the ease that once came so naturally. If your person could ask you one question in this moment, it would likely be this: when was the last time you allowed yourself to fully surrender to love? When did you last drop all of your walls and fears, not just with them, but with anyone? When did you last let yourself experience love without reservations, without the need to protect yourself from potential hurt or disappointment? These are deep questions that speak to the heart of what may be holding you both back right now: the fear of vulnerability. The act of truly letting go, of being open and receptive, is something that both of you may be struggling with, and perhaps in some way, both of you are waiting for the other to make the first move in lowering those barriers. This message may be stirring deep emotions within you right now, and it's okay if it feels overwhelming. For some, these words will resonate deeply, while for others, they may feel too far removed from their own experience. But if you've been carrying a guarded heart, if you've been feeling hesitant about fully opening up, particularly with your person, it's likely that this moment has arrived to help you both recognize that everything you've been through has changed you in ways you might not have fully processed. You've been through so much together, and though it has shaped you, there may be parts of yourselves that you've yet to address or fully understand. There's a transformation occurring between you, one that you both can sense but haven't fully explored. You may be seeing each other through new lenses, and this shift is a reminder that the love between you is still present. It's just been clouded by the weight of the past, by the distance, by the time that's passed without having honest, vulnerable conversations. And now, with everything you've been through, the energy is calling both of you to face those unspoken emotions, to finally confront what's been left unresolved. The energy of this full moon is especially powerful in bringing these emotions to the surface. It's as though the universe is gently pushing both of you toward the necessary conversation that has been long overdue. There's a certain urgency in the air, a pull toward closure and understanding. It's almost as if the universe is showing you both that the longer you delay, the more this disconnect will grow. At the core of everything, both of you want the same thing. You long for the versions of each other you fell in love with, the versions of yourselves that were unafraid, open, and willing to be vulnerable. Those versions are still there, but perhaps they've been buried beneath the walls you've built in response to past pain, disappointment, or fear. Yet the bond that exists between you remains undeniable. Even though it may feel like things have changed, the truth is that the essence of who you are to each other hasn't disappeared. You both know what you mean to one another. There's no question about that. This is a moment to see each other not just for who you were, but for who you are now. Changed, perhaps, but still deeply connected. If you could truly see each other in your entirety, you would recognize the love that still burns brightly between you, and the intensity that's never fully gone away. It's always been there, just waiting for the right moment to be reignited. And now, as the full moon illuminates the path forward, you both have the chance to confront the past, shed the old fears, and allow the love between you to flourish once again. But if you were completely honest with yourselves, you'd probably admit there's been a significant transformation. It's almost as if you're becoming strangers to each other in some way. The once effortless connection, the easy rhythm you shared, seems like a distant memory, and the way you see one another now feels more like a reflection of who you are today rather than who you were when you first met. Instead of confronting this shift, it has been buried under labels like twin flames or soulmates. There's comfort in holding on to these terms because they suggest a deeper meaning to your relationship, an unshakable bond that could never be broken. Hey, but when you peel back the layers, you realize that while the love is still there, something more profound is happening beneath the surface. Both of you are mourning the person you first fell in love with. The passionate, fast-paced connection that felt so full of energy and promise. That raw, exhilarating chemistry that made everything else fade into the background. The kind of love that felt like an unstoppable force. So much has shifted along the way, and it's almost impossible to pinpoint exactly when it started. There were delays, hurts, misunderstandings, and barriers that slowly built up around your hearts. The moments of laughter and easy conversation were replaced with silence. The comfort of just being in the same room now feels like an act, not a natural state. You've been on autopilot pretending that things are fine because facing the truth seems too daunting. You've been telling yourselves that things will get better on their own, that the connection you once had will return with time. But the reality is that the space between you is growing wider with every passing day. And now you've reached a point where pretending doesn't feel right anymore. The weight of it all, those silent moments, the unspoken frustrations, the things left unsaid, is heavy. You both want to feel that deep, all-encompassing love again, but opening up feels terrifying. There's a wall that neither of you knows how to break down, and it's become harder to trust that things could ever go back to the way they were. You need each other desperately, but something, Whether it's time, space, distance, or unresolved feelings keeps you from fully embracing that connection. The very bond that once seemed unbreakable now feels fragile, almost like a thread that could snap at any moment if tugged too hard. It's confusing because the bond is still there, strong, deep, and real. When you close your eyes, you can still feel the essence of the person you fell in love with. You know they're still inside, waiting to emerge. But the struggle to reconnect feels like a never-ending battle. The emotions are raw and intense right now, and every time you try to bridge the gap, it seems like something pulls you back. You're both caught in this limbo, torn between what you were and what you could be. It's painful because you know deep down that the love you once shared hasn't disappeared. It's just been buried beneath layers of hurt, disappointment, and the scars that life has left on both of you. You're at a place where you have no choice but to face the truth. There's no more pretending, no more pushing it aside. The question isn't whether the love is still there, it's whether you're both willing to do the hard work to reclaim it. Over time, life has a way of wearing down happiness, and you start to feel like you're a product of your experiences rather than showing up as your true self. The world has changed you both in ways you didn't expect. And now, when you look at each other, all you can see are the scars, the moments where things didn't go as planned, the fights you never resolved, the disappointments, the broken promises. These are the things that stand between you, clouding your view of the love that once felt so pure and certain. But deep down, beneath all that pain, the person you first fell in love with is still there, longing to emerge. They've never truly left. They've just been waiting for the right moment to shine through, to break free from the walls that have been built up over time. What you both need now is to see each other again, not through the lens of hurt, but with the eyes of someone who knows what true love is. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, it's about accepting the imperfections, the challenges, and the messy reality of what you've become together. It's about finding your way back to each other, not as the people you were, but as the people you've grown into, ready to heal and rebuild the love that is still very much alive, waiting to be rediscovered. Your person misses you in ways words can hardly capture, the way your gaze used to hold so much depth, a reflection of the love and affection you shared. They long for the sound of your voice, that tone that once brought them comfort and warmth. There was a time when simply being around you felt like home, and they miss that sense of belonging. It's not just your presence they miss, it's the connection, the unspoken bond that made them feel safe, understood, and truly seen. It was a connection that made them feel as though they had found their place in this chaotic world. But right now, they find themselves in a place of longing, wishing they could reach out and ask, what can we do to return to that space, to find our way back to that love? At this moment, everything feels heavy and disjointed. The situation between you both feels awkward, almost foreign. It's difficult to pretend that everything is fine when deep down, the intimacy, the raw connection, and the honest communication that once came so easily have all but disappeared. The laughter and late-night conversations, the simple joy of being in each other's presence are nowhere to be found. Instead, there's a void that neither of you can ignore. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, both of you feel the magnetic pull to rediscover that deep, authentic connection, the kind that lets you both breathe easy, knowing you can just be yourselves without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. But the weight of the past is holding you both back. Emotions tied to past hurts, disappointments, and unhealed wounds create an invisible barrier that keeps you from moving forward. There's a hesitation to fully let go, to trust again, even though you both know that neither of you is the same person you were in the past. You've both changed, evolved, and grown in ways that can't be ignored. You've healed in different ways, yet the memories of past pain still linger, preventing you from fully embracing the possibility of a new beginning. The versions of yourselves that you hold onto are remnants of a time that's passed, but they feel so familiar, so hard to release. It's as if your person is silently hoping you'll shed the old skin, the old versions of yourselves that no longer serve you, and become something new. They want to let go of the past and move forward with you, but they're unsure how to take that first step. You, divine feminine, may be feeling the same desire for growth and transformation. You may be waiting for them to make the first move, to show vulnerability and initiate the change that both of you are so desperately yearning for. There's a mutual longing to get back to that place where love was simple, where trust was abundant, and where you didn't have to second-guess each other's intentions. But the challenge is that both of you are waiting for the other to take that leap, to be the one to open up first. The fear of being vulnerable, of putting your heart on the line, holds both of. There you both stand, each caught in a state of paralysis, held back by the weight of unspoken fears. Neither of you wants to be the one to risk the sting of rejection or the ache of disappointment again. The scars from past experiences, the ones that you carry silently, have taught you to be cautious, to hold your cards close. Yet despite this mutual hesitation, deep within, the truth is clear to both of you. You long for the same thing. You long for that unbreakable connection, that pure openness, that shared space where you can lay down your defenses and simply be yourselves. You crave the kind of honesty that doesn't come with judgment or fear, a connection that runs deeper than words, something that transcends the awkward silences and the lingering distance. But there's a barrier, isn't there? A wall, invisible but thick, built from layers of unspoken thoughts, unresolved feelings, and past hurts. It's as though the very potential of your relationship, all that it could be, is buried beneath this rubble of uncertainty. The fear of what might happen if you open up again, the fear of exposing yourself and not being met with the same vulnerability, has created an invisible rift between you. But deep down, you both know there's so much more beneath the surface. You both want to trust again, to believe that the other person is willing to meet you where you are, to share in that raw and unfiltered space where all walls come down. There's so much waiting to be discovered. If only you could move beyond the paralysis of fear. The uncertainty is a natural response in such a situation, one that doesn't have a simple or clear solution. After all, you've been through so much together already. There are memories, both beautiful and painful, that have shaped the dynamics of your relationship, and with everything that's happened, it's hard to determine whether it's worth taking another step into the unknown. But there are those quiet moments, the ones that come when you're alone with your thoughts, when the noise of the world fades away and you ask yourself, if I can't be open with you, then who can I be open with? In those moments, the answer becomes undeniable. The truth is simple yet powerful. If you can't be vulnerable with the person who means the most to you, then what is left? What remains of a connection if it's built on silence, on half-formed thoughts, on the things you never said? You realize that the risk of vulnerability, the risk of being honest, pales in comparison to the risk of living in a relationship that is built on anything less than full transparency and trust. And so, the question hangs in the air, thick with tension. You're both standing at a crossroads. And yet, it's as if neither of you can move. It's not out of a lack of desire, but out of the fear of what that movement might bring. Will it lead to rejection, to more distance, to more hurt? Or will it finally bring you closer, closer than you've ever been before, to that place where the words don't matter as much as the feeling, where simply being together is enough? The longing is there, undeniable and raw, but so is the fear. The fear of exposing too much, of needing too much, of showing the parts of yourself that you've kept hidden for so long. Yet even as the tension remains, there's still hope. The hope that, somehow, despite all the confusion, despite all the doubts, there's still a chance to connect. There's still a chance to break through the walls and see each other for who you truly are. It's easy to let the silence dominate, to retreat further into the safety of your own walls, but the truth is that silence doesn't serve either of you. You both know that something deeper exists between you, something waiting to be unearthed, something worth the effort. As the days pass, you both wrestle with the same question. Will either of you find the courage to step forward, to lay down the armor, and truly be seen? Will one of you be brave enough to cross that threshold, to reach out and to say what's been left unsaid for so long? Only time will tell, but the longing for that connection, deep, real, and unguarded, is still there, unmistakable in its intensity. It is a connection worth fighting for, worth risking everything for. And even if it takes time, even if it takes every ounce of courage to take that first step, the possibility of finally finding that place of mutual understanding, trust, and openness remains a desire that both of you secretly share. Deciding whether to be honest and speak your truth or keep things on a surface level is never easy. It's an emotional tug-of-war that leaves you feeling uncertain, especially when you're unsure whether you should reach out first or wait for the other person to make the move. This internal struggle can quickly escalate into a confusing mess where each decision feels fraught with potential consequences. It's almost as if every word you say or don't say could tip the balance one way or the other, and it's hard not to wonder whether your vulnerability will be met with the same level of openness or whether it will be rejected or misunderstood. This kind of uncertainty can be paralyzing, and it often feels like you're stuck in a holding pattern, going back and forth between wanting to express your feelings and fearing that doing so might make things more complicated than they need to be. It's like walking a tightrope between courage and hesitation. knowing that the wrong move could make things feel awkward or even distant. The fear of not being heard or, worse, being misinterpreted can keep you trapped in your own head, questioning whether it's better to remain silent or take the risk and open up. The situation becomes even more delicate when you realize that the love you share with the other person is much deeper than these small worries and doubts. You're not dealing with a fleeting connection, but something far more meaningful, something that has the potential to withstand the struggles you both face. Yet, these little obstacles often cloud your judgment, making it feel like the love between you both is somehow overshadowed by insecurities and misunderstandings. You know that the connection you share is real, but the weight of these momentary hesitations makes everything seem more difficult than it needs to be. It's easy to forget that love is not just about the feelings you have for each other, but also about how you navigate the challenges and uncertainties that arise along the way. At times, it's about understanding that silence doesn't necessarily mean rejection and that vulnerability doesn't always guarantee acceptance. In these moments of uncertainty, the key is to recognize that the love you feel for each other is a constant, even when the situation itself is fluid and unpredictable. In truth, both of you are likely standing at a crossroads, unsure of how to move forward. Neither of you truly knows exactly how the other feels at this moment, and that lack of clarity only adds to the emotional weight of the situation. This uncertainty can feel overwhelming, like you're both trapped in a loop of what-ifs and second-guessing each other's actions and intentions. But even in the midst of that uncertainty, there's a subtle, unspoken knowing that the feelings are still there, that they love and care for you just as much as you do for them. It's this shared understanding that keeps pulling you both back toward one another, even when the fears and doubts seem to get in the way. The true challenge lies in the fact that past experiences and versions of yourselves that no longer exist are casting a shadow over the current situation. Old wounds, misunderstandings, or moments of hesitation have left their marks, influencing how you each approach the relationship now. These remnants of old issues make it harder to see clearly, clouding your perception and making everything feel more complicated than it really is. Yet, these past versions of yourselves do not define who you are now, nor do they have to control what happens next. The person you are today is different from the person you were when those past issues occurred, and it's important to remember that your current reality doesn't have to be governed by what has happened before. It's natural to hold on to past experiences, but it's equally important to recognize when those experiences no longer serve you in the present. It's about finding a way to release the past, even just for a moment, so that you can fully embrace the present and all that it has to offer. You don't have to repeat old patterns or let past mistakes define your future. The love and connection you share with this person have the potential to evolve into something even deeper if you allow yourselves to move forward without the weight of past insecurities holding you back. Ultimately, this moment of uncertainty is an opportunity, a chance to break free from the fears that have kept you both in limbo. It's a chance to speak your truth, even if that truth is messy, imperfect, or unsure. And it's also an opportunity to trust in the strength of the connection between you two, knowing that if you both approach the situation with honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to grow together, you can navigate this crossroads with grace and find your way towards something even more meaningful. It's all too easy to get caught up in the belief that waiting for the other person to make the first move is the only way forward. We often think that there has to be some clear signal before we can truly express our feelings, as if there's some set of rules that dictate when it's appropriate to open up. But what both you and the other person may not fully realize is that beneath the surface, there's a shared, silent longing between you, a mutual desire to return to a simpler, more authentic connection that existed before the weight of past negativity started to affect the bond you once cherished. In many ways, both of you are quietly yearning for that closeness again, but neither knows if the other is willing to take the first step to rebuild the trust and warmth that once defined your relationship. There's an invisible wall standing between you, but it's not made of anger or a lack of love. It's built from hesitation, vulnerability, and a fear of making the wrong move. You might both be afraid to reach out, questioning whether the other person would even be open to hearing what you have to say. The fear of rejection, the anxiety over whether the damage from the past is too deep to repair, keeps both of you stuck in a kind of emotional limbo. This uncertainty creates a disconnection that feels almost impossible to overcome, even though deep down, you both know how much you still care about each other. These doubts and insecurities are doing nothing but holding you both back from what could potentially be a beautiful and healing reconnection. It's unfortunate that it's become so difficult to reach out to someone you genuinely care about, especially when it's clear that the desire to reconnect is still there, quietly simmering beneath the surface. The emotional distance you feel is likely a result of everything that's happened in the past, the misunderstandings, the hurtful words, the things left unsaid. Because of this emotional baggage, the person you once felt so close to may now feel like a stranger at times. But this doesn't mean that they don't still care. It simply means that the weight of past events has created a fog, making it hard for both of you to see the true depth of the feelings you still have for one another. The reality is, even though it may feel like the connection is lost, they miss you deeply. The time that has passed hasn't diminished how important you are to them. They still think about you. They still feel the void that's left by the absence of the bond you shared. But just like you, they might be waiting for a sign or wondering if reaching out would even be welcomed. The same fears that you carry, fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of reopening old wounds, are likely holding them back as well. And so, both of you stand at a crossroads, yearning for connection but unsure of how to take that first step. The truth is, it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't feel like such a daunting task to reach out to someone you care about, someone you've shared a meaningful connection with. If you feel distant or uncertain, it's important to recognize that this emotional fog is a product of everything that has happened in the past, not a reflection of the love or care that's still there. What once felt natural and easy now feels complicated, but beneath all the layers of doubt and fear, the desire to reconnect is still very much alive. So, what if both of you could push through those fears, just for a moment, and take that first step toward each other? What if, instead of waiting for the other to make a move, you both allowed yourselves to be vulnerable enough to reach out, even if it's just a small gesture? The person you miss isn't a stranger, they're still the same person you once knew, and despite the distance that's grown between you, the feelings haven't disappeared. It's just that both of you are afraid to face the uncertainty of what might happen when you finally reach out. But what if this fear is the very thing that's keeping you both from experiencing the kind of reconnection that could bring healing and growth? In the end, both of you are longing for the same thing, a chance to rebuild the trust, understanding, and love that once defined your relationship. The question is, who will be the first to acknowledge that the bond is worth fighting for, that the connection you both desire is still possible? It's not about waiting for the right moment or hoping that the other person will make the first move. It's about acknowledging that both of you are standing in the same place, longing for the same thing. And sometimes, the first step toward healing is simply letting go of the fear and reaching out to the one who means the most to you. It's easy to fall into the trap of viewing each other negatively when so much has happened in the same light. The person they were at the start of the relationship feels distant, a shadow of who they are now. The weight of past pain, misunderstandings, and disappointments can cloud your perception, making it nearly impossible to imagine a fresh, loving connection. But here's the reality. Both of you have likely changed, perhaps in ways you're not ready to acknowledge just yet, but changes that, hopefully, have been for the better. It's easy to think that change is always linear, that growth is something we can see and feel immediately, but the truth is that growth doesn't always feel comfortable. It's not always a smooth or obvious process. In fact, change often feels like a disruption, and sometimes it even feels like a setback. It may not feel like progress in the moment, but in many ways, it is. You see, change is a necessary part of life. Sometimes we evolve slowly, in subtle ways that aren't apparent on the surface. Other times, it's more dramatic, a shift that shakes us to our core. But whether the change is gradual or rapid, it's essential. It's through these changes, both individually and as a couple, that growth can occur. It's important to remember that this growth doesn't always happen in a straight line. There are highs and lows, moments of clarity and confusion, and times when it feels like the relationship itself is at a standstill. But these moments aren't signs of failure, they're part of the journey. One of the most difficult challenges after emotional pain or conflict is the heavy weight of unresolved issues, the old energy that lingers in the air between you, between your words, your silence, and your actions. This lingering energy can hold you both back, preventing you from truly moving forward. It's easy to get caught in patterns of resentment or frustration, but holding on to these feelings only prolongs the discomfort. The emotional residue of the past can cling to your hearts and minds, making it difficult to see one another for who you are now, not just for who you were in the past. Letting go of this weight isn't easy, but it's absolutely necessary. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or dismissing what has happened. It simply means releasing the hold that past pain has on you. It means recognizing that while the past has shaped you, it doesn't have to define your future. Letting go allows space for healing, for new perspectives, and for the possibility of a renewed connection. You both deserve to experience a relationship that is rooted in the present, one where old wounds are not constantly reopened but rather healed in a way that allows for growth and peace. If you find that both of you are feeling distant, unsure, or disconnected, it's a sign that something deeper needs to change. The energy between you both is at a crossroads, and it's calling for transformation. The relationship needs a shift in focus, a release of the past, and an openness to new possibilities. By creating room for new, more positive energy, you create the potential for a renewed bond, one that doesn't ignore the past but acknowledges it with a sense of understanding and forgiveness. When you make space for this new energy, you make room for new experiences, for new ways of being together, and for a fresh chapter in your relationship. That fresh energy can flow in when you allow it, when you let go of the burden of past hurts and shift your mindset to a place of openness and possibility. Yes, it's challenging to move forward when the past still feels so raw, but sometimes the greatest gift you can give each other is the permission to heal, to grow, and to redefine what your connection can look like moving forward. Releasing the past is not a denial of what you've been through. It's an affirmation that both of you deserve something better, something healthier, something full of potential. Above all, remember this: the person you care about misses the version of you they first fell in love with. That connection, that spark, is still somewhere deep within both of you, even if it feels distant right now. And if you reflect honestly, I believe you too long for that version of them, the one that made you feel seen, understood, and cherished. We all change over time. Life, experiences, struggles, and growth inevitably shape us. But who we were at our core when love first bloomed doesn't vanish. It remains part of us, waiting patiently to resurface when the right conditions arise. The past undeniably shapes who we are today, but it doesn't have to define your future. It's important to recognize that the hurt, the misunderstandings, and the challenges you've both faced don't need to dictate what comes next. What matters is not where you've been, but where you're going together, and how open both of you are to moving forward. Healing is not an instantaneous process. It requires patience, vulnerability, and understanding. The journey to reclaiming the love you shared may seem daunting, but it's not impossible. The foundation that was laid between you two, the emotional connection, is still there. It just needs a little time, care, and effort to be nurtured again. If this message resonates with you, consider it a gentle nudge to let go of the past. Holding on to old grievances, resentments, and past mistakes can create a wall that blocks the possibility of something beautiful. It's time to release that emotional baggage and create space for something new, a fresh chapter, a renewed connection. It may feel uncomfortable, even risky, to open up to the idea of healing and moving forward, but without this openness, neither of you can grow into the versions of yourselves that are capable of deepening your bond. You both have the potential to reconnect and rebuild what was lost, but this requires more than just hope. It requires action. It requires both of you to actively release the weight of past wounds, to be vulnerable enough to face each other without fear or defensiveness, and to believe that love, in its truest form, can withstand the tests of time and hardship. The beauty of relationships lies in their ability to evolve, and sometimes that evolution means returning to each other in a new light. It means shedding old versions of yourselves and embracing the possibility of becoming better versions of each other. I hope this message brings you some clarity amidst the uncertainty you're feeling. Relationships can be messy and unpredictable, but they can also be filled with incredible potential for growth and healing. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect not only on where you've been, but also on where you want to go. Understand that the love and care you share are not gone. They're simply waiting for the right moment to blossom again. Sometimes, all it takes is a little space to breathe, a little time to reflect, and a lot of heart to move forward. Take care of yourself, be kind to your emotions, and embrace the possibilities that lie ahead. Trust that, with patience and commitment, you both have the ability to rebuild and rediscover the love that initially brought you together. I'll be here to support you as you navigate through this journey, and I look forward to seeing you embrace the future with open arms.